Fanatics for Sundays, my church friends, we're going to be looking at the book of Philippians, and it is lovingly called the Epistle of Joy. So why would I pick this now during a time when joy seems sometimes hard to grasp? I believe the story in Philippians resembles our own. The times they were incredibly tough for them, they were afraid, they were facing persecution, and then they were separated from their founder, the Apostle Paul. He was so far away, and they desperately needed his encouragement. And so Paul basically wrote to them a letter, and you imagine how long this would have taken to get there from Rome to Philippi. And in that, he gave them some ways to experience joy in the midst of tough times. One chapter each week, so is what we're going to do, looking deeply at what Paul taught them. And so this week, preparing for Sunday, I want you to read chapter 1 in the book of Philippians. And then to help you better understand it, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll offer a brief reflection on part of that first chapter and take the topics a bit deeper. Now, there are two main themes in chapter 1, and the first one that I'm going to talk about today is simply this. Paul talks about a love that will grow, and as that love grows, we'll experience greater joy. Listen to what he says in the first chapter. He says, "Every time you cross my mind, I break out in exclamations of thanks to God. Each exclamation is a trigger for prayer. I find myself praying for you with a glad heart." Okay, so the first thing he teaches us in the beginning of this chapter is that we should be praying for each other with a glad heart. And the way to do that is to maybe pick up the directory and think about different people and kind of begin to speculate what they may be going through, and then pray. Pray with gratitude for each other. Or you can think about who you sat with in the pew and pray for the ones that were sitting near you in worship. He also says in this chapter, "My prayers and hopes have deep roots in reality. You have, after all, stuck with me all the way from the time that I was thrown in jail, put on trial, and came out in one piece." See, that's why Paul's separated from them. He's in jail in Rome, and yet he feels like they have been a major support during his awful time, and that they have stuck with him. So how do we stick with each other when we are not together, when we are feeling a distance, when we may not even know what traumas the other's going through? Well, pick up the phone and call, send an email, text, or snail mail, some way connect in a way so that you can hear the other story and know what prayers might matter the most, because that will help our love for one another grow. And as we hear each other's stories, it increases that gladness of heart and that appreciation of the others. And then Paul ends with this third idea of how our love will grow. He says this, "All along you have experienced with me the most generous help from God." Very simply, recognizing God's extravagant generosity, that even when things are at their worst, when we are at the end of our rope, that God is there with us and for us, encouraging us and supporting us, and He is a net that catches us no matter what. And when we remind each other in community, then we begin to discover from each other's stories how generous God is and how God is the giver of joy and love. And when we do that, our love will grow. Our love for each other and our love for God. So let me close with the prayer that Paul prayed for his own people, and I would suggest that this is my prayer for you as well. That your love will flourish, and that you will not only love much, but well. Learn to love appropriately. You need to use your head and test your feelings so that your love is sincere and intelligent, not sentimental gush. Live a lover's life, circumspect and exemplary, a life Jesus would be proud of. My friends, I pray that for you. Miss you and